Okay, welcome everybody. We are back here with another live stream, Infinite Layers, with another AVS team building on EigenLayer. Today we're joined by OpenLayer. So Charlie, YJ, do you mind giving us an introduction to yourselves, and then we'll dive into the technology?
Yeah, sounds good. So hello everyone. I'm YJ. I'm the co-founder of OpenLayer. So what we do is a modular authentic data layer powered by everyone. So I can do a little introduction of my background. I was living in San Francisco for a long time. I started my career as an engineer at Facebook, and then I joined Robinhood as a tech lead and worked there for 3.5 years. Also over there, I met my two co-founders, Charlie and Kevin. So all of us have worked at Robinhood for 3 to 4 years. And starting last year, we quit our job and co-founded OpenLayer together. Yeah, and I'm gonna pass over to Charlie to do a quick intro.
Yeah. Hi everyone. This is Charlie. Like YJ said, we met at Robinhood. We actually co-worked on the same team for quite a long time, so there's a lot of trust over there. Before Robinhood, I was at Google for 4.5 years, and then was mainly working on a bunch of different things as an engineer manager there.
Very cool, impressive backgrounds. I like the combination of going from essentially like social, and then you got into finance and scalable like systems there, and now you're kind of building at the intersection of blockchains, finance, and we're going to learn more about specifically OpenLayer. But if you had to give like a 60-second TLDR or an elevator pitch, what is OpenLayer?
Yeah, sounds good. So Charlie, do you want to share the deck so we can go through the first few slides of the deck?
Sure, let's do that.
Yeah. Cool. Yes. Yeah. So we are building the OpenLayer, the modular authentic data layer powered by everyone. Yeah. So basically, the problem we are facing today is the accessibility and authenticity of the data. So as I mentioned, we worked at Robinhood before, and when we were working there, we noticed the data problem. The centralized data source today is undermining the accessibility and authenticity of the data. So this hinders a bunch of technology innovation. For example, we see on-chain developers cannot access a new public data stream on smart contract in a few minutes. Also for AI companies, there's still a massive amount of training data they cannot access today or have no way to verify the authenticity. Another example here is for user private data, which should be owned by the users themselves, is controlled and monetized by the centralized companies today. Yeah, so basically to solve this, we left job last year and founded OpenLayer together. So OpenLayer is the first modular authentic data layer contributed by everyone and every device. So it's decentralized. Basically, everyone can contribute to the network using a laptop or mobile phone with minimal to no entry barriers. It's also permissionless. Any data can be freely added or consumed by anyone. It's also authentic. Any accessible data can be validated using technologies such as TLS Notary to ensure the integrity. Next one. Yeah, so basically we collect data in a decentralized and collective way, and there are a bunch of different data sources users can provide. The data available on the public is one category, such as the real-world access data, the social data, etc. And another type of the data is the private data stored in the Web2 database today. So for these types of data, we refer to more of the data behind the logged-in data, such as your shopping history on Amazon or your account balance on centralized exchange. Yeah, so furthermore, we also plan to support the self-reported data from the secure source. We provide developer interface as well to allow anyone to request a new data feed easily. So basically, you can see a screenshot of a demo of the developer interface on the right. So basically, we support different kinds of the user clients. So right now, we already launched our browser extension testing phase. We are going to support mobile app on the phone as well in the near future. Yeah, so it's also exciting to share that we launched our AVS on the IDNR mainnet a few months ago. I remember it's sometime in March. Basically, we use restated assets from provided by IDNR to ensure the authenticity while we can provide the data in a low latency way. So till now, we already onboarded more than 40 operators and 5 billion in restated assets. Yeah, and also some introduction of our backers and grants. We receive funds from Geometry Ventures, A16Z Accelerator, and also Long Hash Ventures. We also receive grants from Ethereum Foundation, PSE, from Optimism, and Arbitrum.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so now I have a bunch of questions that we're going to start diving into as well. If maybe if you have any questions and you're watching this, you can drop them in the comments as well. But for, I guess, the first discussion around actual use cases and how people can actually start leveraging this, what are some of the applications where you see this being, the most useful at first? So like, there's a lot of future, applications of this, but like, let's say that you all are live on mainnet and someone wants to start using OpenLayer. Like, what are some of the use cases there?
Yeah, so right now we are able to serve both on-chain and off-chain customers. We have around 80 customers in pipeline. So for the on-chain side, right now our existing use cases are more of those customers who build a protocol and they want to get the exalted generic off-chain data. For example, the RWA data, the social data, the data for the exalted market. So basically, we are able to provide the long tail exotic data for the on-chain customers. So that's one use case we are serving today. Another significant use case we are serving today is to provide the logged-in dated user private data for the customers. So one of the example is we have DAX DeFi protocol who want to understand which of these users are power users or VIP users from the centralized exchange. So how we are able to help them is we allow any user to provide basically whether or not they are a power user on a centralized exchange using our protocol. And then the DAX is able to differentiate between different customers and to do the precision marketing. So for this one, we also already have finished the engineering work and will release pretty soon. Yeah.
So if someone wants to start using OpenLayer, is it just they start implementing I guess they start taking the data that they already have and moving it on to your platform? Or like, is it a permissionless platform, or do they need to kind of work with you all to bring that data into the platform?
It's very much permissionless right now. So in a bit, I can share some demos examples that we put on our website too. Basically, you can very easily add any kind of like URL or API and make it available on their platform, on their dApp with our platform. And right now it's a script, but we're also launching a UI for them to do it even more easily, like without coding at all. So it doesn't have to be their data per se, like anything that's publicly available on the internet, they can do it. But it could also be something that they own, they have proprietary access to, and then just like they bring it on chain for their own protocol too. So both of them would work.
So once it's part of OpenLayer, or once it's essentially like verifiable, it can start being used on chain and other smart contracts, right?
Yeah. So that's like the key value that OpenLayer provides. One is like transcribing it from the off-chain to on-chain, and then second is to guarantee the authenticity, right? Like no one's just reporting from nowhere.
So what happens if they've integrated a data set and the data set starts becoming, modified? For instance, most applications are essentially always changing, right? So like, do they configure some listeners or something like that to get the modified data?
Yeah. So first of all, like we always recommend everyone to have like multiple backup sources, right? Like, so you don't rely on just one source, because especially if that source is not that reliable. So you don't rely on just one. you have multiple, and you can configure like what's the strategy of like using the multiple, whether it's averaging or median, and then what are the kind of like the criteria, the ranges of the normal range, right? Like if it's reporting Bitcoin price as 0, then obviously it should be discarded. And then we will have monitorings for all those different sources. The clients can do their own monitoring too, but we will also notify them that there has been something wrong on this. What's the current backup state? And then if they want to do something to reconfigure it again.
Got it. So what are some of what are like the most popular data sets or categories maybe that people are starting to work with or that they're interested in working with?
Yeah, so we've got several. We've got, like YJ just mentioned, we've got RAA projects that are looking for more exotic real-world assets prices. I mean, this could be commodity prices, but also we've got teams that want like soccer team, like it's not a prize anymore, but it's more like a soccer team's performance score or something like that. We can provide VRF too. We also have a demo of getting lottery data, like Powerball data, out there. And then we've also had teams who want to just access data from a different chain, for example, like from a different environment. And from what they need, they just need like Infura or Alchemy API that's being called, right? Like to get data from other chains. So these are the first few more prominent use cases we have.
So when you all decided to, I guess, build OpenLayer, what was the process in terms of finding that this was a problem that needed to be solved? And then, okay, we're going to build a company. Like, what was that process like?
Yeah, I can answer this. So I would say, as I mentioned, we noticed a data problem when we worked at a previous company. And then we start to do the user research. We talked to lots of the crypto projects, and we identify a problem is a lot of the companies, they want to use the data stored in the basically different Web2 database today. So some of them are on-chain protocols, they want to access that. And some of them are not on-chain protocols, like off-chain customers. They also want to access the data stored in the Web2 databases to better understand the user. So that's the reason we start to do the user research. And after we're talking to a few customers, we identify this is a common problem a lot of the companies are encountering today. And that's the reason we start to build the prototype, talking to customers, onboarding them, and then we gradually evolve our product to today's form.
So what is today's form like in terms of the current, state of where you are versus where you want to be? Is it, evolved to the point where you feel like it's covering most of the things that you wanted to do, or do you feel like you still have more ways to go there?
Yeah, we definitely have more ways to go there. So right now, our platform is more on the data demand side driven. We just the demand from our customers. They tell us which of the data they want get from users. And then we allow the users to provide that using our technology such as TLS Notary. But going forward, I would say we will most likely do it in a supply side driven. The user flow would be more like, as a user, you serve the internet as URL, and then during the process, we can notary some of the data fields for you on the side silently, and you are able to review and we store it in the local storage. Then you are able to review it. You can decide which of them you want to share, which of them you want to delete, whenever you want to do it. So it will be more like a supply side driven, and we will aim to reduce the user friction of supplying the data.
So what does the actual flow look like for a developer that wants to start using it today? So I have this challenge. I want to bring this data on chain. What does that look like? I go to OpenLayer's website, and then what?
So today there are like two types. One is the more like the public data streams, and more like and the other one is more about requesting more personal data from the users. So for the public data streams, like I mentioned before, today you can check out our docs and then use the script to define the feed type you wanna add. So it's mostly consisting of the URL where you will get the data from. How do you want to parse it? Basically, the URLs you want to get the data from. How do you want to parse it? How do you want to aggregate it? And then what's the backup strategy and things like that. And then it will be spun up, and then the feed is spun up, and then it's right now it's working on a pull model. So you will call it to pull the latest data, and then you will be able to get the results. So for user private data, it's also about first identifying like where the data comes from, right? How does the user get the data themselves, and then you identify the URLs, you identify the paths to extract them, and then we have an SDK right now for developers to use in their own application that will redirect the users to the flow to extract their data and prove it to the requester.
So this is like in a similar category as the graph with their verifiable network in the sense of that it's verifiable data, but it's obviously used in a lot different way because the graph APIs are typically used on the client, and these sound like they're actually being used on chain. Can you kind of like maybe give a comparison between the different types of verifiable data that are being used right now, you know, for different use cases, and where OpenLayer would fit in and where it maybe wouldn't fit in?
You mean like different use cases where OpenLayer would or wouldn't fit in?
Yeah, like I guess, for instance, in my head, if you wanted to build something like a on-chain network that would function like a prediction market, could you use something like OpenLayer to build something like that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, this is actually one of the more prominent use cases we have, hence like the powerful data that we would build for the client. So anything that's more objective, basically like that, there's a source of truth that you can get from the web, right? And that's the perfect case where you can use OpenLayer to bring it on chain and to bring it in a verifiable way to judge whatever the prediction market results should be. So there are other types of data that are more subjective, right? Like there are more like maybe you call 1,000 people, they'll come up with like 4 different answers for you. And then those are the things that are harder with the current OpenLayer stack. But we do also plan to support it because like to us, like we said, we want the platform to be modular. So we'll have different types of validation methods, right? At the moment, we focus a lot on TLS notary or tested TLS connections, but we also provide other types of validation methods like the proxy mode or just social consensus, like the majority consensus. So those are all the different ways we can support.
Got it. So I guess in my head, I'm curious now, what would be the main differences between something like this versus something like an Oracle or something like that?
Yeah. So normally how an Oracle works right now today is on the majority consensus, right? So it's more like, okay, we have a bunch of nodes that's operating there, and then they're grabbing data from whatever source. And then they're reporting it, and then based on the social consensus, based on the majority, we can know that's most likely to be correct. But what OpenLayer wants to do here is to elevate it to a level where we have more objectivity into it. So it's less about just like trusting the crowd will make the right decision, and to put the operators into the risk of majority tyranny. We want every one of them have something that can attest to, can bind themselves to, and then as long as they are doing the right thing, like as long as the operators in the OpenLayer network is doing the right thing, they will not be slashed, like because we have cryptographic proofs to back them up. It's just that we don't have to do it every time, thanks to OpenLayer's economic security.
So if today I'm thinking, you know, with the current state of the ABS ecosystem, there's like this whole like roll up architecture that is being decoupled with all these different things that in the past were like part of a monolithic network. Do you feel like you're going to start seeing other pieces of the stack being decoupled, like outside of what you all are building? And what is your current thought of kind of maybe the current state as well as maybe the future state of the whole modular stack? Because we're starting to see more and more pieces that are kind of being, made available, similar to maybe like a software as a service model where you have a database, you have an API layer that you can use, an authentication layer. And with that in mind, kind of where does OpenLayer fit in?
Yeah, I think definitely getting the environment is definitely getting more and more modular, because you don't really usually have like a one size fits all solution there over there. For example, for us, we are just getting started, but we already saw different requirements, right? We already saw some projects that really want high security, that they don't care about like a small latency or like a small proving cost. But we also see other projects who want really high frequency updates, and they might want to even sacrifice some security or some guarantees over there. So they want to select other validation methods that can make them faster. So I think every project in this kind of like space will need to think about like what kind of customers they want to serve. We won't cover everything, but within this range of different security tolerance, we can cover the different types of customers. We can provide them modular selections, and that will vastly increase our service range. So I think it's going to be similar for many other types of support projects here as well.
Okay, I want to dive into some final questions, but before we do that, did you all want to do another demo? Maybe. Okay, cool. Let me go ahead and bring that back up.
Of course. All right. So we basically want to showcase how you will be able to add a new data feed and then get this data feed out. So maybe first we can is this large enough?
Maybe zoom in a tiny bit more.
Yeah. We can first look at look at the case where we get the existing data from Plume testnet. So this is calling our own contract address where we have all the data feeds in there, and then you basically specify a task type which is already there. This task type is about the Powerball's recent results, and you'll just call the contract's last round data with this tag type, and then you'll be able to get the latest results from and we can see that we got the latest result from the Powerball, and then it's a drawing on July 29th. And how it was done, how this feed was spun up is by using this script. So this is basically how this feed was spun up. You basically just specify a name for this feed and the URL where it comes from, and then all the different paths. So we can actually start, go into this URL and see what it reports. So it's basically a JSON format response here. And then in order to specify this data feed, you basically just say, okay, I want the draw number, and it's from most recent draw number, which is here, most recent draw and draw number. And then all the other feeds similar to this, like I want the 6 different numbers here.
Sweet API.
Numbers. It's very easy. So yeah, you just like call that post API to us, and then we'll spin up this feed for you. And even I mean, for the future, we will even make this a graphic UI, so you don't really have to understand like APIs and calling APIs things at all. You just like select the fields on the UI, and then we'll spin up the feed for you.
What is the key field there? Is that like an API key? On the post request?
Here, yeah, right now it's just an example one. So we'll provide our developers their own API keys to do this.
Is that something that they can get today?
I mean, we can always have this demo one open for them today. So we'll have our developer portal up, and then they will have their own too.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
And then once the post request goes through successfully, it's essentially now part of the protocol and it's made available, verifiable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Verifiable.
So you'll have. Yeah, so you have a test type returned to you, and they can use to request and get data.
And one last question: what happens if that data wants to be refreshed? Do you just hit that post request again?
I mean, data want to be refreshed, meaning you want a more recent report, or the data types. I mean, the structures wants to be.
Yeah, let's say that URL that we pass in the request body returns more up-to-date data like an hour from now.
Oh,
but yeah, we've already indexed it or something earlier.
Yeah. So right now it's on a pool-based model. So you will request it again, and then. So for example, here we'll just request a new one, but I suppose right now we don't have a newer, but you will just like request a new one, calling the contract. We can see here. So it's very similar to how you get the data. You just call the contract to request a new report for this test type, and then a new one will be available over there. And we have options for you to get the data yourself separately, or having a callback to directly call back to your contract or your protocol.
Very nice.
Yep. And then I mean, another thing we can showcase here is how do we get the user's more personal data available for a requester. So here's like a demo, for example, a demo website where you can claim some drop. And then the only way you can claim your drop is to prove that you have a Coinbase account access and your country of residence, for example, let's say, is in the US. So this page is basically using the SDK we provided. And once the user clicks the login, they will be redirected to Coinbase to log in. In this case, I've already logged in, so the user will be redirected back, and the proving is happening on the background. So usually this type of proof takes about 10 to 20 seconds, and then it's underneath it. What's happening is that the SDK is connecting with the Coinbase application server, and also connecting with a notary server provided. And then they're doing like the third-party TLS, and then extracting data from the Coinbase API. And now they've done the proof and figured that I have product retail access, I have a verified phone number, and my residence is in the US. So that's all that's shared from the user's device.
Very cool. And I guess the data, I'm just assuming that, you know, once they've authenticated and they've authorized that they're the proper user, then that data is the data that's being used to make this happen. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think that's the demo we have.
Very cool. Very cool. So if someone wanted to maybe start playing around with this themselves as a developer, what would be the best places for them to go and get started?
Yeah, the developer docs. We have a dedicated section for developers. It outlines like whether you want a public data stream, you want a VRF, or you want some user personal data proving. There are different sections for them to check out.
Okay, cool. Well, I have a few more questions that we're going to wrap up in terms of OpenLayer specific, but I want to ask a few questions about your experience working with EigenLayer. So if someone was new to AVS development and they were looking to build out their own AVS, what are some of the things that you might tell them about why you chose to build an EigenLayer, but also maybe some tips and tricks that might help them out?
Yeah, I think one of the first things I think this is kind of like EigenLayer's developer docs too, but I think this struck me pretty, I mean, deeply, that you have to figure out like why do you need the economic security, right? Like it's not just like I want to tap this fancy great ecosystem, but it's more about you figure out like why do you need economic security? How does it help making your existing product better? Whether it's making it faster or more secure, or even just like possible. So for us, like we said, we were in the field of applied cryptography and data self-sovereignty for a while, and we found that the one of the major problems is that the cryptographic proofs are usually slow and expensive. And when EigenLayer came out, we figured that it's actually the perfect way to make it a combination of optimistic and cryptographically verifiable, right? So we can harness the better of both worlds and have most of the time no one has to generate a proof at all, and then we can just use the economic security to do it optimistically. But on the back, we always have the resource archived data for the cryptographic proofs to be available, and then when things go wrong, operators are know that they will get slashed, so they have to bound to their economic security to not do bad things. So these are great ways for us to make our protocol faster, right? And there are other cases who wants to use more affordable security to make it more secure, or maybe other more innovative ideas. But I think the core is to figure out why you need the economic security.
So, in terms of the actual like process of building an AVS, is there anything that you would call out that was like helpful for maybe you to have known earlier that you didn't know that you know now, or anything in terms of advice or anything like that, I guess?
Yeah, I think definitely go understand all of the concepts inside Eigenlayer structure. I mean, the idea is very clear, but when you actually go down to implementation, there are actually a lot of different pieces. So we actually went and draw a bunch of graphs for ourselves, and then figure out, okay, these are the components that should work together. These are the components that we are putting decentralized from the first day, and these are the components are like centralized first day, but this is the path to decentralization. So design it upfront so you don't have a lot of like surprises down the road. And then another one is more like what kind of networks do you want to support? Like, do you want to support multiple networks, like us, because we want to support different chains and provide data over there. Then the registration, like the operator registration, and all that are going to be on the more like central, the one like either it's Holitsky or it's mainnet Eigenlayer contracts. So figure out the way you want to support multiple networks from the start, and starting bridging or like basically syncing all the important data and data into the networks you want to support from the start.
Okay, good. This has been really great. I learned a lot, and I'm hoping a lot of other people did as well. As we're wrapping up, can you kind of give us a quick idea around some of the things that you're excited about for the OpenLayer roadmap, maybe 3, 6, 12 months down the road from now?
Yes, of course. So basically, for the next 3 to 6 months, as we mentioned, we already launched our user extension on the browser. We are going to launch a mobile app on crypto phones for users to contribute data. And yeah, and also besides, we are going to onboard more customers on the data demand side. So that's one of our big focus, to basically to get more demand, to use us, to get more adoption in both Web2 and Web3. Because as we mentioned, our technology is not limited to Web3 only. We are able to serve lots of Web2 use cases as well. And also, we believe this is a huge milestone and very important to basically get more Web2 companies, Web2 users to understand the technologies that Web3 crypto can enable, so that we can make the market bigger together. Yeah, so that's another huge thing for the next 3 months, to talk to more Web2 customers. Yeah, and also, as we mentioned, we are going to improve our user client to basically release new versions gradually to allow users to provide more data from different websites. Yeah, stay tuned. And also we are going to do the public launch of our extension next week. And also we are going to have different campaigns to incentivize people to join us.
Awesome. Well, that really wraps it up, I guess. So for everyone that stopped by today, thank you for checking this out. We're going to drop a bunch of links in the comments on YouTube when this goes up. So if you're watching this later on, you should see links to OpenLayer, OpenLayer's developer docs, and any open source stuff that we find that we want to share there. So Charlie and YJ, thank you for your time today. Thanks for coming by and giving us a deep dive into OpenLayer. And for everyone watching, thanks for checking this out. And we will see you again next week with another live stream on Infinite Layers.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Ladder, to hosting us.